Hey everyone, what's going on? It's EDS here, bringing you a brand new Top 10 video. I know it's been practically years since my last one, but I figured I'd give it another crack at it. And what better topic than to discuss the most common topic for PokeTubers like myself, a Top 10 favorite Pokemon list. So without any more delay, let's get to it. Absol is probably one of the most lesser known Pokemon to see on most people's favorites lists. I'm not sure why it is, but for me, even from my earliest times of playing Pokemon Emerald in high school, I've always loved it. When I first encountered it on Route 120, I knew I had to have this thing. And it was a key component in my adventure all the way through to the end. Even if it is the disaster Pokemon, I never had anything go wrong relying on this beast. When Gen 6 came around, everyone, including me, knew there'd be a new evolution coming, since every even-numbered generation after the first one included at least 2 new ones. I also was expecting 2 new evolutions this gen, but if I had to have only one, then Sylvanon was probably the best possible choice. I'm not sure what it is about it that I love so much. Perhaps it's the cute face, the pretty bows, or the fact that even despite all that, she's still a vicious dragon killer. But whatever the reason, Sylvanon certainly cute charmed her way into my heart forever. I know I briefly touched on Mapani during my top 5 favorite Mega Evolutions list, but let me address her again here. I just love this adorable little bunny. Something about her design just suits my playstyle so well. She's got a lot of varied moves, but not a lot of power, and for some reason that's always drew me to her. I've always had a thing for weaker Pokemon with amazing move pools. Her Mega, however, fixes a lot of those issues, but even still, she never lost her mystique with me. And the fact that she's the hardest Pokemon to evolve by happiness just made it all the more rewarding when, after spending seemingly days making my Baneri like me, I was finally rewarded with this amazing little bunny rabbit. Most of you wouldn't know this, but my very first ever Pokemon game was actually Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. And back when I was in middle school, every day I'd come home from school and play the crap out of that game. And one of my main team members was a little sheep named Mareep. I just thought it was so freaking adorable back then, and even still today. And when it evolved, I couldn't have been happier with the results. Ampharos quickly became my main electric type, and despite having been buying Pokemon games on release day ever since Generation 5, Ampharos has still continued to be my absolute favorite electric type. Even with all the amazing electric types that have come out along the years, I still think that Ampharos will always be my favorite. One of the biggest mysteries in the Pokemon franchise has gotta be that surrounding the legendary Pokemon. And while I know quite a few people who can't stand them because they're too overpowered, I personally love almost every single one. And by far my favorite of them all has to be Latios. I think the reason behind why is probably because when I was a little kid, before I owned Emerald, I saw the scene of the Pokemon Heroes movie showcasing Latios and Latios flying around, and I was in awe at this adorable little dragon's design. Once I got one of my own, she became one of my main team members. Even to this day, I still own my original Latios from my original Emerald cartridge. A testament to my love for such a perfect little legendary. Delphox is an interesting case for me. I remember watching the trailers for Pokemon X and Y a few years back, and hoping that the fire starter this generation wasn't going to be a fire fighting starter for the 4th time in a row. I speculated with my friends that it was, in fact, going to be a fire psychic instead, given the whole mage aspect they were leaning towards with Braixen's design. I, of course, was proven correct, and Delphox immediately became my starter, no questions asked. I think it might have been my childhood obsession with magical creatures that drew me towards it, but the fact that it gave off such a majestic, yet regal appearance just made me fall in love with this amazing little fox, and to this day it's considered one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite, fire-type Pokemon of all time. Although Pokemon Sun and Moon haven't been out for more than a few weeks at this point, there's still a huge number of Pokemon from this generation that I absolutely adore. And while my original plan was to go with Litten as my starter before the games came out, after their final forms were leaked back in March, I knew immediately that I'd have to switch to Popplio if they were confirmed to be real. And of course, as everyone knows by now, they were, and thus this placed Marina at my number 4 spot. I've been playing the hell out of these games, if you couldn't tell, and every time I use Marina, I just love how she handles. Great stats, an amazing move pool, and a kick-ass design, and a signature Z-move to boot. All around, both in design, aesthetic, and move pool, an absolute perfect Pokemon in my eyes. Despite all my accolades for Marina, however, my top 3 favorite Pokemon have remained the same ever since Generation 5. And speaking of Gen 5, my favorite Pokemon of that particular generation has gotta be Zoroark. I'm not sure what it is about dog and cat Pokemon in general, but they've always managed to be somewhere in my favorites, even when new Pokemon come out, and Zoroark was no exception. It was difficult to obtain, a pain to breed, and had such a mysterious way of doing things that I couldn't help but love it. I've always loved mischievous Pokemon, and Zoroark definitely fits the bill. The only thing that I have to harp on, though, and while this is years after the fact, was the fact that it was so ridiculously impossible to frickin' obtain. Ugh. Damn it, Game Freak, I'm so glad you guys don't do that with regular Pokemon anymore. Now, while Lucario is technically the mascot for my channel, it's not actually my most favorite Pokemon. Well, sort of. See, ever since I was young, my top two favorites have always flip-flopped between one another. So I guess Lucario can technically be considered my number one and number two at the same time. But regardless, this Pokemon is freaking incredible. I don't even need to explain why or how. With being one of the only non-legendary Pokemon to have an entire movie based on it, being one of the best defensive typings in the entire freaking game, having the third most diverse move pool in the game, having only Pokemon like Arceus, Mew, and Nidoking beat it out, and having a kick-ass Mega Evolution to boot, you can't go wrong with this mighty Anubis Pokemon, and I feel it's absolutely deserving of being one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, period. Ever since I played Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, there's been one Pokemon in particular, outside of Eevee, that stayed with my team throughout the entire adventure. And, just like my original Latios from Emerald, I also have the first one of this Pokemon I've ever obtained. And that Pokemon is Gardevoir. I know it may seem a bit overplayed, and God knows going on Google to find this Pokemon is a disaster waiting to happen, but screw all that! Gardevoir's freaking awesome! Yes, the design is quite feminine, for lack of a better term, but that's not why I personally love it. It's just a great Pokemon overall. Solid stats, a solid move pool, and a great design. Now, like I hinted at with Lucario's entry, I do flip between Lucario and Gardevoir every so often as to who my number one is, so I guess they technically both share this spot and the previous one. But at the time of this video, Gardevoir is in my number one position, so I'm sticking with her. Gardevoir is a mighty Psychic Fairy Pokemon who will lay her life down for me during any encounter, summon a black hole to destroy my enemies, shoot lightning bolts out of her frickin' fingers, and terrorize the entire opposition with her mighty psychic powers. And that loyalty, along with my own nostalgia for her, of course, are all perfectly worthy causes, for me at least, to keep Gardevoir as my number one favorite Pokemon. Hey everybody, ZDS here. Just wanted to give a little quick outro to this video. If you guys couldn't tell from a little bit of the audio and recording of the video, I did all these things before I had become homeless. I just wanted to give a little quick outro for this since I had to replace the past outro. Thank you very much for all you guys' support. My subscriber count has been going up steadily even since before when I became homeless, and I'm really freaking thankful for that, guys. So I will try to be able to make these top 10 videos as much as possible, but you're pretty much going to see mostly my normal content, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, this has been ZDS, making YouTube for fun one video at a time, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and over and out.